Is Get Informed with Wajeeh. I'm Wajeeh Lion. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I got a special one for you. I don't actually. I just have a question and answer. Yesterday, I had a special one for you where we interviewed Dr. Rihab for 2.5 hours almost. And if we did it any shorter, we would have done the whole episode injustice because the topics we were discussing were heavy. The topics that we were discussing needed to go slowly, even though we it wasn't slow, but we had to go back in history and explain how things happened and how we got to where we are on every issue that we brought. And if we didn't go that long, you would have not had the full information. On a regular news story on TV, it's usually 5 minutes, 2 minutes, maximum 15 minutes. If it's special stories, 30 minutes. But we wanted to do something, more in depth. We didn't want to cut anything out of it, and we wanted you to get full access to an expert that knows everything about the issue from within Iran. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys liked it. If you haven't watched it yet, you have missed out. Go and watch yesterday's interview. It's worth every minute, I was told. I was told it was worth every minute. Good morning. Good morning. Now, today is mostly Q&A. I know that yesterday we had Q&A and then we had another episode with Dr. Mitra. So it depends on how many questions you guys have. I'm gonna stick around. If you guys are out of questions, then we can end the episode whenever you are ready. I'm happy to show you guys how to get to my live chat, my chat while you're in the live. If that's something you need to learn, just say yes, please, and I will go ahead and start the process of showing you how to exit the live stream without exiting the live stream, essentially, and going to my group chat, clicking on, yeah, okay, wipe this down for you guys. When your camera's blurry, the answer is simple. Just grab a cloth uh, that is um, microfiber, and you'll be able to wipe it clean, no problem. So I'm going to go to the Don Lemon live stream. You can see he is talking live. He has 410 people. All I'm going to do is I'm going to the corner of the screen and I'm going to push that way. I'll do that again. I'll go to the corner of the screen and I'll push that way. One more time. The corner of the screen, and I'll push that way. Then I'm gonna click on the bottom messages and I'm gonna go all the way to the Wajeeh Lion subscriber chat. You're gonna find questions here, please. You're gonna click on that, reply, and you'll find people's questions already there. I just exited the Don Lemon show, but it's easy, it's simple. It makes my life easier where you guys can comment on the live stream and I can catch some of the comments. But if uh, a a lot of times you guys have important questions, and if you want me to catch that question 100% of the time, you could easily um, just go to the group chat and add your question over there. I got another. I keep getting equipment for the live stream because you guys deserve good production. Maybe soon in the future we'll have a production team and have a, a studio where we invite actual guests to come over. We need to compete against Joe Rogan. We need to compete against actual big podcasts, and that wouldn't happen without your support. So if you like this type of content, um, that works with an iPhone. I asked people that have iPhones if that trick works on an iPhone, and they said yes, it does work with an iPhone. The information we talk about, the guests that we bring on, they're all people who have expertise from the region. And if we don't compete with the best in the market, then we are not in it for people education. Uh, it could depend on an iPhone version. Yes, if you had an older model, that could be a problem. Um, if you cannot write your questions on the live stream, on my group chat, just repeat the question. So copy before you post the question, write it down, and then copy the question and post that question several times for me so I can catch it. And I will do my best to read your comments. And actually, I'll bring this closer so I could read your comment and your questions. And I'll have my other phone to read your questions on the group chat. How about that? Is that okay? Oh, recently I have a service that you guys can send the gifts to, and that service forwards that email to me. If you want to send me any mugs, I send me a message and we'll talk about that. Meanwhile, this someone says I appreciate your insight. Love your analysis. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you. What did I learn from yesterday's interview? I did not know that some of the protesters at the time in Iran were committing heinous crimes as decapitating people's head. Didn't know that there was. I knew that there was some sort of some sort of intervention or interference from countries like the United States, but I didn't imagine that that would have been that bad. And from our discussion yesterday, I learned that that was one of the main reasons the uprising failed is because a lot of Iranians at the beginning thought it would be like an economic uprising, which is exactly what you'd like to see people uprise for. Because once you uprise for a different reason, what ends up happening is it becomes really hard for the rest of the country to rise up. But once people are hungry and they're old, regardless of their ideology and their uprising, they don't care what your faith is. They don't care what your ideology is at that point. They're all upset about the economy. But it was weaponized right away by the United States and Israel, apparently. And that made it turn violent. And that violent ended up r- ruining that whole uprising for a lot of other Iranians to join. So that was interesting. I did talk to Mitra. She thought that I would be offended from some of her comments, but I have thick skin. And I asked her to show up again. She didn't know that you guys would love her that much. And so if you want to show some support, go to her account and support her. She deserved that kind of support. She didn't feel before like her knowledge and information was appreciated. And I wanted, plus she's Middle Eastern, a person of color. She's a woman, an educated woman. So automatically she doesn't get a lot of, attention as, you know, a white perceived male like me, even though I'm Middle Eastern, even though I'm Arab. Um, I'm a male. I have extra privileges. A lot of people put a lot of trust in my word right away. I appear in a lot of, important shows. I speak on Mario Nopal. So I have some sort of attention, and she deserved to get more attention because she has more insight about a lot of information that I don't have insight to. And this is not a competition for me on this channel as much as it is for me to provide you access with the best resources that I have access to. And if I find someone who has more information than me, I will reach out to them and ask them to join me for the podcast and provide you guys with some education. Um, Her name is Mitra Rehab. There's several Mitra Rehabs out there. There's a very famous rabbi. She's not the rabbi. The rabbi is a male. He's a very famous Palestinian rabbi who's written so many articles. This person that we're talking about, don't use AI because sometimes it has showed that like she's a medical doctor. She's not a medical doctor. She's a professor out of Florida that has 20 years plus experience and being consultant, and she specializes in Middle Eastern anti-terrorism, specializes in U.S. Middle Eastern relations and Asian relations. And she's from Iran, so you're getting a perspective that is from the country. I'm gonna put this. I realize that I don't have my headphones. No, it's talking. Question. On my own opinion, the most advanced driving system you can find is bias. I'm biased. Someone's asking me about cars. I wouldn't say I'm a car expert, but I personally like Mercedes S Class or because they have their um assistant driving in there that has the highest degree, which is third level automated driving, and you can get it hybrid. But that's bougie. If you want to get it as a certified second hand from the dealership, and you'll save maybe at least 20, 30,000, sometime $50,000 just because you take it secondhand from the dealership. If you buy brand new, you're automatically losing money as soon as you take the car off the lot. But some people like new more than they want it to get it custom made or whatever. But I grew up bougie. I like Mercedes, even though I don't have Mercedes. My first car was Mercedes. I would love to be rich enough to buy a Mercedes. You list BMW. The problem with BMW, it's like a very expensive boyfriend. Breaks your pocket, and you keep taking them to the dealership to get fixed, and you know, if you're lucky to get a BMW that doesn't go bad, is good. Let's have other questions. You guys like the expensive boyfriend, huh? If someone says I can't even afford the gas for another car, yes, I can't blame you. No one is going to be able to afford gas. If you want to get, uh, you know, crazy mileages and stuff, I'm not the expert in that, honestly. But I told you, I'm bougie and I like cars that have assisted driving. The thing that's nice about Mercedes S Class, it looks ahead of the road and it makes the bumps easier. I don't like fast cars. I like comfortable cars, quiet cars. If I can even afford a Rolls Royce, that would be even better. Quieter, you know, nice driven. But dreams are amazing. Next question. If MBS is out at the same point, if a seed grows, who was up in theory? Um, his brother would likely someone's asking if MBS was put to the side, who would take next? Um, if the king himself has control over the whole situation, he would put one of his other sons. Otherwise, it would be another Game of Thrones, in my own opinion. You'll see an active Game of Thrones happen. The Saudi royal family estimates between 18 to 35,000 people. Big population. Wikipedia likes to say 15,000, but that is old news. When I was reading before a few books, it says more than that. So you got 15,000 princes in the kingdom. Everyone wants to be king. This is not us Saudi citizens. No, this is just the prince, the royal family. 15,000 people in the royal family. MBS, in order to ensure no one would go above him, he did the Ritz Carlton move where he collected all the businessmen, the big businessmen. He collected all the princes and he put them in Ritz Carlton hotel rooms and tortured them until they gave him everything he wanted. He killed Jamal Khashoggi. He kidnapped Saudi princes living in the UK, living in Germany, living in Europe, living in the United States, and brought them back to Saudi Arabia and executed them. That happened. So, in order for you to be king, you have to shed some blood, whether it's from your own family, whether it's Saudi citizens, whether it's critics, whether it's journalists. Machiavelli said, in order to be a successful king, you should be ready to go to hell. And and simple terms for you to understand. Arab kings do not read Machiavelli. They sleep. They put it before they go to bed. They read it and then they put it under the bed, under the pillow to sleep. They're there. It's everyday night read for them. Oh, what does Prince Machiavelli tell me? Ah, yeah, the Prince, the book. Okay, maybe I should betray the general next. Yeah, next time I will have the general kill some people, and then I will blame it on him, and I will execute the general. They do that. What do you think? They come up with ideas like this. If you like this type of content, go ahead and destroy that heart button at the bottom of the screen. Share this live stream with your friends and family. Have them join us so they could learn something new. Is there any hope for the end of the Saudi Arabian kingship? Not anytime soon. The Saudi people have a lot to lose still. Um, there's a lot of middle class wealthy people, upper class wealthy people. Where there is discrepancy and there is income inequality. There is modern slavery, but that is all kind of dealt with. Now, if the kingdom has, if this war could make or break the kingdom, and the reason I say this is because if the kingdom ends up getting broke because of the infrastructure of their infrastructure getting all hit, then like if the water desalination plant gets hit there, if the oil uh, uh, plants get hit, if their uh, machines that process that oil get hit, that will stop the or that ends the income that the kingdom has for years to come, months, for years possibly, and they would go bankrupt real quick. If the water desalination plants alone get hit, a lot of people will have to leave the kingdom because there wouldn't be even water to drink. They would have to be importing water by plane and ships and trucks, just water. They don't have Saudi government doesn't the Saudi land doesn't have access to water spring. They mm, more than 90% of the water that we have in the Gulf states is through desalination plants. And in some states is more than 99% or about 99%. That's the weak point. You just need to hit that and it's gone. Fiber optics, GCC has fiber optics. What about it? Ruby, I'm so sorry you're not feeling well. I hope you recover and get better. Should Trump just accept Iran's demand now to get the tankers moving again? If Trump wants to help the American people and help the world economy, he would have to accept a lot of the Iran demands. Maybe he could request one or two changes. But the Trump administration does not have the upper hand, and anyone says that Iran has the upper hand is lying. That the United States has the upper hand is lying to you. Iran has the upper hand in this current war. So what that I don't know what wouldn't they want to ally with Iran more? I don't understand your question, Fig Five. You have misspelling and it's kind of weird. Sorry if you don't mind rewriting the. Of course, Trump is making money for himself and his family. What's the best items can stay safe, like food, meds? Nothing could stay safe because most of your food uh, needs foreign imports. Most of your medicines need some sort of imports. Uh, the United States is not a producing economy anymore. It is a consumer slash service economy. Wouldn't the Saudi government want to find more common ground with Iran? They are currently trying to find common ground with Iran. Uh, and that is how they have been slowing down Iranian attacks on the Saudi kingdom. The only way the Saudi kingdom and the Qatari uh, 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 state would have gotten Iran to slow down was by literally telling Iran, don't worry, we are friends. We are against the US attack. That is the type of thing that they would be saying. Is the end for energy, US, AI, is the need for energy slash AI a driver for this war? No. Unfortunately, uh, the United States doesn't care whether there is energy shortages or not. Because by the end of the day, he personally is not affected by that. Although his numbers are bad, but he doesn't want to leave without his honor being hurt. And the Iranians are not going to let go without the Trump honor being hurt. Without the sufficient oil inventory in the upcoming months, what will that look like for the US in everyday life? You're going to have shortages in products. You're going to have, and as that happens, you're going to have shortages and services. And what that essentially means is everything will become way more expensive. Shelves are going to start looking a little bit emptier in the supermarkets. Your gas prices are going to be on average at least $5 to $6, $7, depending on where you live. In California, it'll be definitely above $10. Your electric bill is gonna cost you on average 5 to 10% more. Your gas bill is gonna cost you more. And all of that will affect the everyday to day uh, activities. So I have personally been, you know, buying the things that I want or need now for myself. I'm not telling you to do so, but because I don't see things going well and I see that there will be a lot of shortages, I've been trying to get the electronics that I need. There is a bed that I need to buy that I've been saving for, trying to figure out how to get it so I could help my recovery. I'm thinking about getting that sooner now than later. There's a chair that I need to get, then both of them are imported, so I better get them now because I'm quite sure within a few months that's not even going to be available or is going to be harder to make or more expensive. That's just me personally getting ready for this unfortunate circumstances. Um, I I don't want to have to buy the bed now. I don't want to have to buy the chair now, but the bed that I want in a few more months, instead of 2, 3 thousand, is going to be 10,000 maybe, or 6,000. The chair that I want now, instead of maybe $500, $600, is going to be 1,500. PlayStation, the PS5 alone has gone from $600 to $900. Maybe you don't play Sony, maybe you don't watch TV, but your electronic goods are all imported. That's all going to go up. Your iPhone, your Apple Watch, your luxury goods, your makeup, your medicine, your hair gel, all of that is going to be affected. All of that will be affected, unfortunately. And most people in the United States cannot even afford it because they live, most people in the United States in the West live paycheck to paycheck. Because of income inequality, people have been pushed to the brink. Majority of people in the United States, if they miss a paycheck or two, they can become homeless. They start living out of their car. The kids start like facing a lot more difficulties. That's the reality that a lot of Americans are facing. They can't even afford the products at the current prices that it is at now. A lot of people are worried about tomorrow, and I can't blame them. I can't blame them because when gas prices was $3 a barrel, $3 a gallon, Americans were still struggling because we haven't created a system that supports the middle class, that supports the lower class, that the whole economy is based on. Instead, we have been creating loopholes for our economy to keep shrinking in the middle class. And now we are sitting at a situation where even going to the mall is unreasonable. People don't even go to the mall now. The mall is becoming, a ghost haunted places. I've seen so many malls around the United States empty, and I'm like, why haven't we at least turned these malls into, houseless centers? Turn these malls into places where we can put people without homes, convert those malls into living spaces so we can give them away to the people that don't have houses, instead of us spending billions of dollars on services that end up not giving any residency to the houseless shelter. Instead of using the police to shovel the houseless people from one corner of the city to another corner of the city, we are having commercial places being emptied out, and we are borrowing money to go to a war that we can't even afford. We're borrowing money on top of the money that we have borrowed to fight a war that we cannot afford. And if we spend that on our people, at least the people could give us some money back, because when you invest on your own people, they only become improved. They only go back and support the economy and become either business owners or become workers and pay taxes and buy more stuff. And when we give money to people who need it, they end up spending that money right away in the economy, supporting the economy, instead of when we give it to rich people where they put it in offshore bank accounts. When I give money to someone that needs it, they're not going to save it. How are they going to save it? They're going to spend it right away. So the person that is behind in bills that needs money, they should get the money. The sad thing is, even when you go to nonprofit organization and you're about to get evicted, unless you get an eviction notice and unless you can show them that you are absolutely broke, they say, "Oh, we need to help someone that needs it more now." because that much they're that below. So they want you to get to the point where you become almost homeless or become homeless in order for them to help you. Some people cannot even afford their insulin, which is a life or death situation. The insulin that we that the in third world countries we charge $1, $2. In the United States we're charging 30, 40, 50, 100 plus dollars. Insulin, a shot that can cost $2 in third world country, we're charging our people 20, 30, 50, $100. This is just insulin. هاي يا قلبي يا كت يا ما تسمع يا ما تسكت. Oh my dear tiny heart. So many times you hear shit and stay quiet. يا قلبي يا كت يا ما تسمع يا ما تسكت. Means, oh my tiny heart, so many times you hear a lot of shit and stay quiet. Someone's asking, what's the chance that China, Pakistan, and or Qatar can get Trump and Iran to agree on a real ceasefire and a peace agreement? Very low. No, we pay extra for medicine in the United States. I studied political science and economy, and I took especially a class on we studied specifically medicine economy, and the U.S. market specifically discounts medicine for foreign countries and increases the price on U.S. citizens for a very long time, with the excuse that without us doing that, then we would not have any innovation in the drug market, which is a total BS argument, in my own opinion. Well, not everyone can afford an insurance. The thing is, in the United States, the insurance doesn't come from the government unless you are in Medicare and Medicaid. And even if you're in Medicare and Medicaid, you need to get something called extended insurance where you pay either out of your own pocket or you go and take it out of your disability income or your social security income and pay the difference where you're paying, a private company to cover what else is not covered by Medicare, Medicaid. So even if you have Medicaid and Medicaid that is covered by your own government, you have ending up to still having to pay a private company out of your own money so you can get additional services and coverages for the things that the government does not cover, which the government does not cover a lot of things. Like Medicare does not cover hearing aids. They cover the test for a hearing loss, but they don't cover the hearing aids. What's the point? I know I can't hear anymore. You need to get on Medicaid in order for for the hearing aid to get accepted. And if you're a Medicare, that doesn't automatically mean that you're approved in Medicaid. The whole system needs to be updated. It gets even worse for U.S. veterans that have served in the U.S. military, that have PTSD and have need actual help. They don't even have access to medical service, mental health services, like enough of mental health services. The other day, I showed you guys a video of U.S. veteran that lost his legs in the war in Iraq and coming back with a PTSD, where he had a whole bunch of knives stabbed at the door. If we took care of our soldiers, he would be at a better place. They ended up taking him to a mental health hospital, evicting him. He deserved that. The soldiers deserve a lot more than what he's gotten. I don't know if he passed by a bomb and lost his friends that were fighting with him in that war. Well, they call each other brothers. Really fucks you up? Are the Gulf states aligning with China? Is China still supporting Iran? Yes, and yes. The Gulf states were supporting Iran. I mean, the Gulf states were aligned with China before the war even happened because they're dependent on China for manufacturing. They're also dependent on China's workers to come to Saudi Arabia and build some of the infrastructure that the Saudi government is building. They're also dependent on China for their purchases. China buys most of its oil from the Gulf states. So there's close relations between the Gulf states and China. And now the Gulf states is no longer looking for the United States for protection. They're looking elsewhere. And that means that they have signed a military defense treaty with Pakistan. They've signed most recently a military defense treaty with Ukraine, and they are looking for different countries to work with. So as that continues to happen, as the United States loses its closest allies in the Middle East, and it would take years and years and years to rebuild in terms of relations. I don't think someone is saying Herzog can give Bibi a slap on the on the wrist and probably to back off of Lebanon. But then what would happen to in Lebanon? I don't think Bibi is backing off of Lebanon. To simplify that for you, not anytime soon. He's gotten a hook on there, and he's too happy about it. If there is any push, there needs to be push within Israel as civilian protesters gather up. Uh, Thank you for coming in. The Pakistani mediation with the U.S. Iran talks appear to have stalled. I say it has failed, not stalled. But what is there any other bilateral talks happening? The whole point Trump going to China, China is very interested in talking to Trump about his war in Iran, and is very much interested in convincing Trump to stop this war. If anyone would have actual pressure on the United States and leverage, it would be China, because China is militarily strong enough to face the United States. But also, China is a strong ally to the Iranian people. So Iran kind of trusts them a little bit more than they trust other nations. Um, and so that's where the talks next could be happening by the Chinese people. Although I don't see any agreements happening anytime soon, because even the memorandum of understanding, so the 14 points that Trump denied, wasn't the agreement. It was the agreement to talk about an agreement. So they can't even agree on the basis of what they want to talk about. That's your main issue. We haven't even gotten to the table to negotiate a peace talk. We're at the basic principles of, hey, well, you want to talk about your nuclear weapons? No, I don't want to talk about my nuclear weapons. Do you want to talk about the Strait of Hormuz? No, I don't want to talk about the Strait of Hormuz. Do you want to talk about your ballistic weapons? No, I don't want to talk about my ballistic weapons. That's basically what's happening at the moment. Do you think that Russia and China have linked up to destroy the United States? That is their strategy for a long time. The Russian and Chinese strategy for a long time is to bankrupt the U.S. government by scaring the U.S. government into investing into military goods, by announcing some fake technologies back in the day, especially. Into, we have a tank that can fly. All of a sudden, the government goes, "We need a tank that is a rocket." All of a sudden, you hear the Russian goes, "We have a submarine that, you know, can maneuver." All of a sudden, the United States wants a submarine that maneuvers and attacks at the same time. The Russian goes, we have a laser gun. All of a sudden, the United States, we need a laser gun that cuts people in half. So the U.S. government spends trillions and trillions and trillions into a black hole and of the uh, military infrastructure, and that military infrastructure is not something that is owned by the public. It is owned by private companies that are making most of the profit. Whether the U.S. ends up getting these products or not, these companies are making a profit. That should not be happening. The government should be producing its own military weapons, producing its own product, creating the infrastructure that it needs, and making it cheaper for us to make those weapons. And they have, uh, I've said this so many times, they have been focused on bankrupting the U.S. economy, um, by scaring the United States government into investing in more military services. And we noticed that because the U.S. government stopped investing in U.S. Services, it stopped investing in U.S. citizens, stopped investing in education, stopped investing in health systems, stopped investing in a lot of shit. But they're investing in the military, they're investing in AI, they're investing in other things that doesn't help you become better. Iran is said to have multi bilateral talks going on. Yes, Iran is having multiple bilateral talks, but it's just talks. It's no more than a talk. Talk is talk. What is American saying? Money walks, bullshit talks, right? Is Qatar and or Oman mediating between the United States and Israel? Trump has been basically forcing them to. They don't want to, but they have to. Do you know what degree JP Morgan oil shortages prediction also are also applicable to Europe? I think they're very much applicable to Europe. BB's interview last night, how was it viewed in the Middle East? They viewed it as evidence of the conspiracy theory that the Trump administration has with Israel against the Middle East. A lot of them are saying, "See, we told you." In fact, they will say, "وَشَهِدَ شَاهِدٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِهَا," and someone from within the government came in and testified. The one that testified on it was the Prime Minister of Israel. They're like, "Oh, how to change that? Do not know." Great starter to stop being white racist and listen to black voters. I think we need to stop making decisions without understanding the full consequences. And we need to start putting people who we uh, can trust in office. And if you don't see someone that you trust in office, then your job is to nominate someone that you trust. That is your job as a voter. You get to nominate someone. That's how we voted for our first president, George Washington. People said, "We want you to be president." So stop letting people nominate themselves and go out and find someone you can trust and nominate them. And if you can't find someone you trust to nominate, then you run. Because if you don't exercise your right to run for office, then you are not exercising your rights of checks and balances. One of the best forms of checks and balances or adding policies to the next agenda, even if you do not win. When you run on, we are going to raise minimum wages, or we are going to fight for unions, or we're going to end the war, and you become very popular and you get a lot of attention even if you don't win, the candidate that's running against you is going to at least adopt one or two of your policies, and that alone will tell the next that the candidate that, oh, I'm not safe, maybe I should be listening more to what the other candidate is saying, or listening to more what to what the constituents are thinking about. You need to make the move. You can't sit down and say I'm upset. Obama said, "Don't boo, vote." I said, "Don't boo, run. Don't boo, nominate." If any time is the time for you to take action, is now. It's not tomorrow. If you are thinking, maybe I will get wait until things get really bad, then it's too late. It's too late. That's right. The hero you're looking for is the is in the bathroom mirror. And Arabic, or I'm not Muslim, but I take a lot of wisdom from Islam because I grew up Muslim. There is a saying: if you want change, then it must come in from within first. Meaning, if you want change in your society, then you must change yourself first. You must look in within first. What can I do to be part of change? What is my place in order in this equation for this change to happen? Maybe you are not able to do anything, which is absolutely fine. But that reflection on what is my place, where, what is my duty, you are going to be lost. You're going to keep asking people for direction. Asking some smart people for direction is never bad, but you need to stop relying on McDonald's type of news forms. You need to start looking for detailed information. You need to start investigating. And that's why people in the upper class are making it very hard for you economically, because the harder it is for you economically to survive, the harder it is for you to have some time to focus on your on your political situation. That is done by design. That's not done because of coincidence. Even coincidence takes a lot of planning. So you need to be paying attention. Ask yourself, why is it so hard for me to participate in my political uh, uh, autonomy? Why is it so hard for me to be part of to go out and vote? Why is it so hard for me to join and run for office? Ask yourself that, and you demand change based on that, and you find your purpose based on that. Don't look for someone else for help at this moment. Someone says Nance's law, 100%. This morning, BBC was reporting that Netanyahu said he wants to wean the Israeli military off of US support. What do you think? Listen, Netanyahu realizes that without the US president's support, this war is over. And as soon as Trump loses the primary election that's happening, and as soon as the Republican loses the next presidency, if hopefully people do what they're supposed to be doing, then we are going to be in the shit show. They are going to be in the shit show, not the U.S. Because Israel would have not, like, Israel literally went to every previous president and they begged them to please help us attack Iran. Please help us decapitate the Iranian government. And they were, as soon as Trump says yes, their vision all got blurred and they stopped thinking. They went all in. It was all about legacy at that time. It's all about how we change the world. It's about how we will appear in the history books. We want to be the next Napoleon. Trump was, I believe, you know, Netanyahu convinced Trump. Oh, you will be destroying these terrorists forever. Or they will give you the Nobel Peace Prize. Trump was like, oh, I've been wanting that prize for a minute. I even blackmailed uh, Greenland. I told them, you better the prime minister, the president of Greenland. Oh, if you don't give me the Nobel Peace Prize, I will sanction you and I will invade Greenland. He goes, I have no control over the Nobel Peace Prize. Motherfucker was blackmailing over the Nobel Peace Prize. I wouldn't be surprised he would have been convinced. What is my thought about Trump's upcoming visit to China? I talked about it a little bit. Um, I think he's going there himself because he believes that he can reach some sort of deal with Xi and that Xi could help him out a little bit with Iran. Uh, and that is how it's going to go. China is going to be like, you should stop this war. We can help you negotiate peace talks. But other than that, we're not going to help you with anything else. They might put some economic pressures or some, supply pressure over Trump. And then Trump will say, she and I are best friends. We give each other a hug and we almost kissed. But he's a very beautiful, smart man and we will figure out how to end this war. And he goes back to the United States. He will say something like that. Meanwhile, she's laughing and was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Someone says, I heard MBS took a bullet somewhere around the beginning of COVID and had to hide and chill for a while. That is a rumor, but we don't have anything to confirm or deny that at the moment. And one thing about that, MBS once was being interviewed by a foreign paper. I forgot what it was, either Wall Street Journal or Washington Post. And they were basically asking him why he hasn't signed the Abrahamic Accord. And he basically told them that I'm afraid of someone assassinating me for that type of, you know, peace talk or peace, uh, peace accord. Putin should be able to speak English. You're talking about. I noticed when you did your podcast a bit later, there were many more viewers. Just a thought. You're thinking maybe like an hour later, like maybe starting at 10 o'clock instead of 11 o'clock. I mean, instead of 9 o'clock my time. That could be it. Maybe I'll consider doing that. It gives me 1 hour after uh Black Man Spy podcast to rest, maybe make another cup of coffee, drink it, and then make another the Q&A. We'll see. That's not a bad idea. Americans will be furious in November. By November, I'm surprised how some mega supporters are still standing with Trump, even though like they're fine. Like some of the interviews I'm watching out there, maybe they're a minority, but like some farmers that like sell soybeans that no one but is China is no longer buying soybeans from them. They're like making excuses for Trump. Or some other farmer the other day was like, "Yeah, we don't have any fertilizers anymore, but this is for the right reason." And that kept like shocking me. Like, really? I don't know. I don't know if you know, but Canada is accepting U.S. citizens for asylum and refugee status. Canada is currently accepting refugees and asylum seekers who are U.S. citizens. Despite Bibi claims moving away from U.S. support, do you see scenarios where this would actually occur? Yes, I see the other way situation happening where the Israeli people would be losing the American support. The reason I say this, especially younger Americans and Jewish Americans, a large portion of them have become anti Israel. And that future generation is going to be the part that will play the biggest part in Israel losing its alliances with the United States. How so? Well, when your base voters stop having the media news um as their main source of the news, but once they start watching live videos of Israelis attacking inside of Gaza, as how the United States is directly supporting Israel. Like in Minneapolis alone, there has been an anti war protest constantly happening, and they're protesting Honeywell because Honeywell, the same company that makes products for your furnace, the same company that's making smart AC uh, panels and is making your air purifiers and humidifier, is making the bombs for the US government that has been sold to Israel that has been killing innocent civilians. So, like, people are doing their research and they're finding like how their local cities and local companies been part of the um Honeywell is a big defense contractor, yes. um So as the more research you do, the more you find out. And I'm not asking you to look into conspiracy theories. No, I'm asking you to look into the government documents. I'm asking you to look at actual report investigation research. Uh, I'm not. None of the shit I'm talking about has anything to do with conspiracy theories. It's all real. So most of the government contracts that we have in the U.S., especially when it comes to the military, is through the private sector. So companies that have any ability to manufacture anything for the U.S. government, if it's bomb or uh, a a bullet, and if they could do the same thing, produce air purifier, they will do that. But they will charge a premium, and who's paying the premium? We are. But if you look, the Israeli state is dependent on U.S. and Western Jewish citizens deciding to go to Israel and becoming a settler. And they have Israel has been having a lot of uh, in the past, especially they've been having a lot of incentives for Jewish Americans to go and say, okay, I'll have a vacation home in Israel, or I'll move to Israel and become part of the settlers. But a large part of those Americans have left Israel now because of the war. Two, they have realized that a large part of them have been realizing that they are playing part of a genocide and they don't want a part of that. And now the Jewish Americans that are in the United States don't want to go and don't want to be part of that and don't want to become part of the Israeli states when they see that this is the type of actions that they make. And when that falls, the power of like the Jewish lobby, the Israeli lobby falls. And that as that is falling, it's falling within the Israeli community. Israelis are turning against the Israeli government. Um, so a combination of the younger generations not wanting to be part of a genocide, um, the uh, uh, the the Jewish Americans not wanting to be a part of that. For example, like before the war, before the last Israeli-Palestinian war, I appeared on Israel 24 at least 14 times. But when the war started to happen and the genocide that the Israeli government was committing, it was very hard for me to accept any other invitations on Israel 24 to talk on. It just it just was emotionally hard for me to say yes to an interview with Israel 24, even though I might be talking to the Israeli people, not talking to the the Israeli. I'm not supporting necessarily the actions of the Israeli government, but when I would get asked to talk, I wasn't being asked to talk about the war. I was asked to talk about other social issues in the Gulf states. And it just didn't feel like that would have been the right priority to talk about, number one. Number two, if I would have been talking about a different issue while that war is happening I just didn't feel doing it right. And I still got a lot of shit for it, which I don't care. Like I was talking about human rights issues. I was talking about human rights violations. I was talking about modern slavery. I was never promoting myself. But even then, it didn't feel right to go on Israel 24 and talk about that stuff when the genocide was actively happening. S- but I always believe that there should be some sort of balance in the Palestinian Israeli conflict. There should be some sort of like middle ground that we can get to. And as long as we have hardline extremists and as long as we continue to support war, we will continue to have more hardliners. If the United States steps back and forced Israel into getting in some sort of position by stopping its financial investments, by stopping its not financial military support, by stopping the political support, Israel would be way more inclined to get in some sort of middle line. Bibi Netanyahu, for the longest time, was having a hard time and was almost kicked out. And he had to find the hardest liners in Israel to get that support. You know, more than half of people in Israel are not even religiously Jewish. They're just ethnically Jewish and they're very moderate and they work in the private sectors and they're quite upset with the Orthodox Jews in Israel that have been promoting the war and in the same time not wanting to be part of the war by saying we are in. So if you're in Israel, right? And you must join military, but unless you are an Orthodox Jew that says that I am in the middle of my studies. So if you're in the middle of your studies, you are allowed not to join the war, not join the military. So all of a sudden, the moderate Israelis are going like, "Hold on, we don't even support this war, and you're making us go fight the war." Meanwhile, the people that are advocating for it, they're sitting back and they're just watching us fight. Like this, why is this happening? So, like, even within Israel, people are against this war, yet it's happening. How? Because the hardliners are in power. Could global warming lead to one world? No, it will lead to a more divided world. Because global warming will lead to more income inequality, and as more income inequality happen, people will become more hungry and will become more polarized, and as people become more polarized, they will start blaming other people for the mistake and stop looking for the top 1% being responsible. And as they do that, we keep having more civil wars, and then the rich is in power and uses that uh, rhetoric to be like, see, we told you this person on this party line is really against you and is causing this and that problem. Meanwhile, the rich is making all the money and is making laws and regulations to make it even harder for you to find what is best for yourself. So, as it is economically hard for you, it is more likely for you become polarized. That is what the studies have shown. Now, as I continue to read these questions, if you like this content, please press that heart button, share it with your friends. Um, Consider becoming a subscriber, whether you're paid or not. If you can become a paid subscriber, that helps me a lot, pays the bill, including my treatment, right? Pays travel, maybe moving, we'll see. And helps me do this full time so you don't have to full do it full time. If you cannot afford, there is no problem. But if you cannot afford and you want to become a premium member, or like what you guys like to call it, to have an easy pass, send me a direct message. I will ask you a simple question: what is the email associated with your account? Some people apparently get offended when I ask them that, when they ask me for a premium membership. The only way I can give you a premium membership and add you to the premium account is if I have access to the email account associated with your account. Um, the other thing is that I've been getting people who I gave a premium membership and somehow they accidentally unsubscribe. And now it's harder for me to give them a premium membership again. And I think that's because mm, believe Substack doesn't want me to be spamming people where I'm giving them a membership that they don't want. And if you unsubscribe to a trial membership that is a year, you automatically lose that trial membership for some reason. So be a little extra careful when I give you the premium membership. Um, Not to unsubscribe if you don't want to lose it. That's just something I've been investigating and learning about recently. Um, you can message me to get that premium membership, though. I'm more than happy to provide it for you guys. Um, let's go back to question. So I'm saying we are all one medical emergency away from financial death. Yes, especially in the US. We are all one vehicle, all a vehicle repair from the same disaster. Some more than we think. Americans are familiar with financial insecurity, but most Americans are oblivious to the supply chain issues. They got a glimpse during COVID. COVID was relatively short lived. Empty shelves were not uncommon, but it was not for unexpected period. They do not realize. Yes, I agree. I thought that was a question. Who can sit down and make Trump understand the real truth? Getting him evicted from the White House. You have someone with Alzheimer's running the White House. How do you want to make him understand the truth? You have someone looking for his self interest before America. What do you mean understand the truth? There is no truth to be understood. You have a corrupt president. That's the truth. The truth is the president that you have doesn't like you, doesn't care about you, and think that poor Americans are nasty and disgusting. That's the president. Convicted sex offender. That's the president. That's not me. That's not my report. That's just the fact. Some questions I will like bring it to you right away. Why should every person suffer for this absurdity that the Trump administration is doing? Because we put him in power. Because we failed to do our checks and balances and our homework in the United States. Because US citizens are lazy to run for office or to vote for the right person, or if they don't find the right person they want to, they protest against that and put us in more difficult situation. Some stupid decisions like that put us in that situation. Yes, it's you. It's your responsibility. Even though, like, if you, some people say, I did my homework. You're not talking about me. I'm not talking about you if you did your homework. But I'm talking about the US citizen that has not done his homework. Someone will come and tell me, it's like, I've been going to every election, whether it is primary or non primary, whether it's my city or my district. Or I'm like, good, that's amazing. It's not enough. I'm sorry. You have done your homework, but the rest of the US citizens haven't. That's not enough. Obama says, don't boo, vote. I say, don't boo, vote, run for office. Don't boo. Put them in checks and balances. Don't boo, nominate. Don't wait for someone to nominate themselves. If you find a trustworthy person, it is your job to nominate them. This is how we got our first president. We nominated them. He didn't nominate himself. President George Washington, right? Go back to your textbooks in high school. American people said, could you please be our president? As more people start nominating themselves, they're looking after their best interests. But when you find a leader who deserves that position, that leader is there to support you. That leader knows they didn't get there without you asking them to be there. President Reagan was the worst president in U.S. history. Before Trump. Now we have Trump as the worst president in U.S. history. One was and now is. Yes, you cannot reason with dementia. You're absolutely correct. Thank you, Susan, for your wishes. I will have to do more investigative work regarding Lebanon and Gaza and give you some writing. What can I say about Israel's secret base in Gaza? Let me copy the link and put it in. I don't open the links that you guys send me automatically. You'd be better off taking a screenshot of the story and putting it in the message that you're sending or something like that. The reason is it is a security hazard for me to click on the links that you send me. And because I deal with sensitive national security information that comes from different countries uh, every once in a while, when if I because I have my own access to people who need to remain anonymous, I for that, for other national security, for my other personal security purposes, where Saudi Arabia, I'm a regular target for the Saudi government, where I'm still under threat of being kidnapped and killed by the Saudi government. Many purposes where I don't click on links that are sent to me right away. So for that, also is a reminder for you. You are a target for a lot of hacking organizations or hacking groups out there that will hack you and take your information. VPN is important. I have NordVPN. This is not an advertisement. I don't get paid by them. Um, I also have many other services that I pay for. But there's a free service that NordVPN has, which is this link safe? So if you go to Google and write this question, is this link safe? NordVPN. You click on that and you take that link and you put that link in that section, and it will tell you if that link is safe or not. I'm about to do it. Okay, link is safe. U.S. built and defended an Israeli Iran war base in Iraq. I need to read that. Thank you for sending me this. That is very interesting. Awesome. I will listen to this later today. Thank you for your question. Thank you for that tip. What I think about it, well, I wait to read it and I will tell you my opinion. Do you agree that Iran and the United States infiltrated the Iranian uprising? According to Professor Rehab yesterday, yes. According to Professor Rehab, the Iranian uprising that happened recently, the economic one, was infiltrated by the United States and Israel, and was intended to support them vis-a-vis US military weapons, and the fact that they did some crazy. Uh, yeah, she did say that. That's what she said, that the U.S. government and the Israeli government infiltrated the Iranian protest, and that is one of the main reasons why it failed. Is because they got real violent real quick and was decapitating people heads, and Iranian people was like, "That's not what we want. That's not democracy. That's not what we're asking for." So a lot of the support died off. And then, in addition to that, in my own opinion, Trump promised to step in and support them and he did not, as much as that they thought he would. So it really died off real quickly. Explain my opinion of Reagan. Well, he started the war on drugs, which was a failure from day one. He supported the trickle down economy that has supported the 1% and weakened the working class. He destroyed the unions that was designed to support the working class. And the war on drugs mostly focused on people of color and put a lot of people of color back in jail. Um, and he was the one that started the seeds of the far right that we're seeing today. Everything that we're watching Trump do was inspired by President Reagan at one point or another. Um, the war on drug that we know of was also fueled by the CIA import of drugs that was spread out through African American neighborhoods and intentionally was getting Americans hooked on opioid drugs and then was punishing the US citizens for it. Um, Just Say No was a big failure. And I wish Americans understood more of how Reagan started a disaster future for the U.S. That's just without me doing any back. This is just off of the top of my head. If I basically did more research, I probably have a lot more. But yeah, Reagan really fucked this up for a lot of us. So yeah. I was saying it was successful in taking the focus off of Iran. Yes, Reagan was successful in taking the focus off of Iran. So what Reagan did, other than all of that, is he went behind the U.S. Congress. Whenever you do military sales, right? You have to a foreign country, you have to get it approved by the U.S. Congress. So Reagan skipped the US Congress and went directly to Iran and did weapons trade with them to get back some American hostages. And he also diverted funds in order to support these purchases from the Iranian government. Why is Reagan used to be the worst president? Many reasons. His foreign policy was one of them. Arming the enemy is one of them. Nixon was war on drugs, but Reagan ruined the world. Fair enough. Again, I talked a lot in previous episodes about how presidents of the United States keep making decisions that are good for that might be good in the short term because it would they perceive that it could help their um, poll numbers, but in reality, a lot of president decisions and foreign policies that have been focused on improving their numbers or have not focused on the full consequences of their actions, it ends up creating all of these complicated problems because then these presidents end up coming up with simplified solutions that is easy to explain to the American people because they perceive that as how it can fix their numbers domestically. And for a period of time, it quiets down and then their numbers improve. But in reality, that little improvement ends up going a deeper plunge where the enemy or the adversary ends up uh, becoming more of a hardliner or ends up becoming more of an enemy against the United States. Like, for example, when we removed Saddam Hussein, we allowed Al Qaeda to enter Iraq. When we took out the democratically elected president of Iran, we allowed the Shah to come in. We made the door open, wide open, for the Iranian supreme leader Khamenei to take over. When we asked Saudi Arabia to send the Mujahideen to Afghanistan, we opened the door wide open for Osama bin Laden to be the head of Al Qaeda and create Al Qaeda. Many more decisions happened like that. Obama did similar decisions. Everyone did similar decisions. The way we pulled out of Afghanistan is an example. It's not one president, it's a systemic issue that you have. That's why Iran is requiring that any peace treaty would be ratified by US Congress, making it a law, a US law. They're requiring a peace treaty with the United States being a law, which is a lot of what Americans don't understand. That's one of the requirements of the Iranian government. Anything that passes needs to go through the US Congress. They're tired of the American promise word. Someone says, let's not forget that Reagan got our hostages held in Iran. Yes. When Carter was president, a lot of people don't know this. When Carter was president, Reagan communicated with the Iranians and told them, hold the hostages and I'll give you a really sweet deal that you will love so I can become president. And he intentionally wanted Reagan not to end up having any peace talks with the Iranians, specifically because that would help him get elected. That really happened. And then he made that backdoor deal with Iran to sell them the weapon behind the US Congress. President Carter, I think, was the most down to earth person, wasn't he? Wasn't he the president that was building homes for people that don't have homes until he died? He's a really amazing person, I heard. Hmm. Things you know, things you say. يا قلبي يا كتكت يا ما تسمع يا ما تسكت. Oh my dear baby heart, so much shit you hear, so many times you stay quiet. Someone's saying they moved a lot of dark money during the war on drugs. That's true. Why would would if the EU places sanctions on who? The United States or Iran? Because at this point we know sanctions don't work. Who was president when I came here? It was Bush, the son. All right, we have approached the 2 hour mark, y'all. Was someone is trying to say Jimmy Carter was bad too? I'm sure, like he's had mistakes, but I'm not necessarily talking about his legacy as much as I'm talking about Reagan manipulating the election and holding U.S. citizens hostages so he can win in order for him to become president. And the betrayed was he also sold really important weapons to Iran. That's one of the main points. I'm not defending Carter by any chance. I'm just explaining the situation. You guys have any other questions you want me to ask? Answer. I'll give you another minute to write your latest questions. All right, then I will say this. If you're watching this on YouTube, you are watching a recording. How do we survive under a dictatorship? Why do you want to wait until you have a dictatorship? You shouldn't have to wait until you have a dictatorship. You should act now. Do something about it. Because surviving under a dictatorship is a nightmare. You will no longer be able to have knocking door, collecting signatures. You'll no longer be able to speak your mind. You'll no longer be able to have critical thinking. You'll no longer be able to have free voting. You'll no longer have uh, checks and balances. You'll no longer have uh, a lot of shit. Why should you wait? Ask someone that lived in a dictatorship and survived it. Anyways, like, subscribe, and share. Make sure you invite your friends to come over. If you have not become a paid subscriber and you can afford it and you're enjoying our content, please consider becoming one. Helps us pays the bill, do the work that we do, and do it full time so you don't have to do it full time. Um, Additionally, if you are wanting a premium membership on the house, message me. I'm more than happy to provide you one, especially if you can't afford it. You don't need to explain the situation. All I need is your email associated with the account, and I will add you. Just be a little extra careful not to unsubscribe because then it becomes way harder for me to add you again. Uh, Otherwise, I love saying "Ma'as-salama," bye bye, بالإنجليزي goodbye, which means peace be upon you, goodbye. Um, we'll see you tomorrow. I'll try to do this every day. And usually on Fridays, it's a paid membership. And if I can't do it paid membership on Friday, I usually do it a day or two before. Uh, but uh, we'll see you next time.